under the Act, basically. Are the goods safe and durable is another question here. So are there even safety issues is another thing we might even be thinking about. The other thing is the price you paid for it and the length of time that you've had it is also really important here. I mean, if Jonty had it for years, then you wouldn't expect sort of a cheaper stereo to last for that long, so that may not be covered by the Act. You may not get anything out of that. You'd expect a high-end piece of equipment to last a lot longer as well. So basically, are the goods of an acceptable quality, and are they fit for their purpose they were intended?
Yeah, I've heard kind of situations where vacuum cleaners are being bought by people, used in like an industry kind of sense, and then sure enough, they break down straight away. The guy comes in, tries to claim on them, and they say, "Oh no, sorry sir, what kind of reasons were you using this for?" And yeah, it doesn't end up very well. So these kind of things wouldn't be covered, so remember, if you're using things for business purposes, you've got to make sure that you buy a business purpose cleaner or other good or service.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, in that sort of situation, a vacuum cleaner that they bought is not designed for industrial use, using it every day and using it and wearing it out quite quickly. So that's really not designed for it. So it's something that they might not be able to refund under the Act. So anyway, we've settled that the stereo is covered by the Act because it's a good, and we've also settled that it's used primarily for domestic use. We've also settled here that the retailer here should do something, but the question is, what should they do? Does the retailer have to give a cash refund then, or replace the good, is what we're worried about here. Maybe give them a store credit or something. So the third question here is whether the failure was of a substantial character. This basically means that the problem's serious enough to be considered substantial, and so entitle the customer to an immediate refund. You're only really entitled to an immediate refund under the law if there's something really wrong with it. So if the goods can be fixed, you can require the retailer to maybe get it fixed, or get it fixed within a reasonable time in particular, and possibly even replace it if they want to do that, but cash refunds are another matter. If the supplier fails to fix this problem, so in this example doesn't fix the antenna properly, doesn't fix it within a reasonable time, then the customer can demand a cash refund, or get a replacement, or even get it fixed at their own expense and claim the cost back from the supplier. So the first two options, which was to get the refund or get a replacement, is probably the best, because the last one I said is to fix it at your own expense. It's really, really tough to actually claim that back. You've already spent the money and you'd need to go through the legal channels to actually claim it back, and it's quite a lot more difficult. Probably the only thing I'll point out as well is that if you're getting no joy from the salesperson here, you should probably go see the supervisor or the manager there. They've got the power to please the customers a lot more flexibly. I mean, they can really they can help where the assistant may not be able to, basically.
Right, and so if the failure is of a substantial character, I take it that the customer is entitled to a cash refund or a replacement?
Yep, and you can even keep the goods and claim some of the money back if the good has reduced value. So this works even if it can be fixed. The big question here is whether the failure is of a substantial character, as I've said. So we'll take a quick break from that for now, and we'll have a quick look at the legal news for January. You're with Radio Waitakere Law.
Radio Waitakere Law News.
Leading the news in the world of the law today once again is the Family Court Review. This is a review to look at the family court from the ground up, and there could be quite a lot of radical transformations. We would encourage anyone who wants more information to check out the review document available on the Parliament website at parliament.gov.nz. We will be holding an information session, and if you want to know more about it, you can flick us an email on info@waitakere.org.nz. Secondly, there is continuing strike action at the ports of Auckland at the moment. Disputes over pay have rumbled on, and this has been quite a divisive issue in the media. Now keep an eye on this in the media, an open mind at least, and remember that there are plenty of rumours around the employment laws, and that they will be looked at over the next 3 years. This strike could be a real catalyst for change in this area, so watch this space. Lastly, this will be an unfortunate time of year for many people, and there is a raft of debt and family issues coming through our clinics at present. The post-Christmas period is a time where a lot of families struggle to cope, and we would just like to say that there is help out there. If you're having problems paying the bills and you need help with your finances, we can refer you to many other organisations in Waitemata that do fantastic work. Now that's the news for January, people. Now let's get back into it.
So we've gone through a simple case of Consumer Guarantees Act protection when returning a good. So we're going to try now with a service, and this is all really broad as well. For example, this could even cover lawyers who aren't doing their job to the proper standard. So the Act we just mentioned also specifically mentions some of the services it covers, and I'll just briefly explain that. So the main coverage is for performance of work under a contract, for example, hiring a person to renovate your house. So it includes banking services and includes such things as money lending even. It doesn't include just the provision of money though, and it also doesn't include employment contracts. That's specifically excluded. But it does include a lot of services that you would buy in the same way that you'd buy a good, basically. I hope we're clear on that, and if we've got any other particular questions, particularly about renovations and things that you might have dropped some serious money on, then it's best to get some legal advice about it. Nevertheless, onwards and upwards. John, so you're a disgruntled customer again, and you've had an issue with your power company. And Hayley, you're the power company, and you're on a bit of a power trip yourself.
Yep, got it.
Excuse me, Hayley, I've got a bit of a problem with my power. The supply seems to be continuously cutting out. It's causing my TV to keep turning off, I'm losing all of my saved MySky programs, my lights are dimming down all the time, they're turning off entirely sometimes. Now you supplied me with the services of hooking all this power up and doing all that, and it seems not to have even been hooked up properly.
No, I don't agree with that, and I don't like your attitude. What do you mean? We have our best people on the job.
Nah, it reminds me of the slow men working signs I used to see on the street. No, I don't think so. They took ages. They didn't do a good job either. Can you please send someone out to correct all these problems?
Look, I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you're going to have to go get someone else to do it if you want. We're very busy, and we don't have the time to go around doing work for you all over again.
Well, who's going to be paying for that?
Well, you.
No.
Yes, you will be.
No.
Well, maybe we can do it if we can charge you a little extra.
I don't accept that at all. Anyway, that's another thing I was going to talk to you about. This bill, it's ridiculous.
No, you're ridiculous.
What?
What?
Okay, you guys really got into that scenario. That's great. Anyway, as a consumer, John, so you're entitled to certain guarantees for services, as we were talking about before, that you've contracted to receive. So firstly, it's got to be provided with reasonable care and skill. And that means basically it has to be done properly for the purpose that it was intended for. In this situation, of course, it appears that the job hasn't